I wanted to ask Gabrielle about you being an epidemiologist, because like over the last couple of years, I mean, we lived through a pandemic, and I feel like people in your profession have just been like washed out due to all of the misinformation. And how you navigate that, because I felt like in 2021 I made it my mission to try to like debunk any type of like vaccine misinformation, but it's like it's so, I feel like it's so overwhelming. There's so many conspiracies that like it's almost like it's just a lost cause. So like, can you talk about your experience as an epidemiologist like during a pandemic, because I think this is like one of the most fascinating things right now.
So I'll say I got my degree from Tulane University School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine. Roll Wave, we just won the Cotton Bowl. And I graduated right into the pandemic. So I finished in 2019, and then boom, here's all my textbooks come to life. And I got recruited by the current company that I work for. I've been with them ever since. So I've only known this capacity at my company because I work for a private organization. And so in the very beginning, it really was like an all hands on deck kind of thing. Like, wow, this is the event of a lifetime. We have not had a pandemic of this nature in 150 years. Like, this is something that we've just never seen. And it slowly, and I really, to me, the chasm, like the real switching point was when the former Surgeon General came out and basically kind of put personal blame on the pandemic, especially for communities of color. And really, I think that would be the moment where overnight, it just seemed as though the entire narrative around it changed. Suddenly, we were not a collective country trying to face this new and still very unknown threat. There's still so much that we don't know about COVID. And it just became something that was your personal responsibility. And that's not how public health works. It's just not how it works. I think people are so unfamiliar with public health and think of it as the same thing as medicine. Because medicine, we're treating the individual, we're treating this symptom. Public health is supposed to be from a preventative standpoint, and our infrastructure just completely failed. And so that left room, in addition to all the fear that was surrounding it, that left room for a lot of misinformation. I wrote an article I was quoted in an article for The Telegraph, where they were basically reached out to me and they said, "Hey girl, there's a conspiracy theory going around that says that, COVID will cause your baby to be born with microcephaly." And I'm just like, girl, like what, like these things we didn't even know. People were saying, at this point, I may as well wipe my ass with my epidemiology degree because somebody watched 2 hours of a YouTube stream and said, "Hey girl, well, XOXO lover baby told me this." So
yeah,
on Reddit.
And so it's I understand it. This isn't even the first time this has happened, even throughout history where people come through with a lot of misinformation, a lot of vaccine hesitancy, and especially with the Black community, we have reason for our vaccine hesitancy. It is warranted. I will never take that from us. But at the same time, when it comes to COVID, when it comes to the vaccine, we just have to operate in a way that understands that, I am my brother's keeper, that we are really collectively responsible for one another. I think the most recent research that I've read is that in terms of people who are vaccinated, because most people have pretty much gotten their vaccine, or at least their first one. They may not have completed the course, but they've got at least one at this point. I think the most recent research I've seen is that for people who have been vaccinated but are not taking any other endeavors, they're not quarantining, they're not wearing their mask and whatnot, they're going to, I think they're estimating you're going to experience COVID at least 6 times, acute COVID at least 6 times in 1 year, and you have a 12% risk of developing long COVID, which is something we absolutely are just in the dark about at this point. And so as we fight for some kind of normalcy, some kind of endemicness, especially at work, because I'm gonna tell you, everybody at work's tired. Everybody, at least in my job anyway, everybody's tired. We're tired of hearing about it. We're tired of seeing the death rates. We're just tired. Everybody's tired. The general public's tired. Healthcare, we're all tired. But that does not negate what has to come next. And that is some kind of collective understanding that this is not over yet, that this nonsense, that this is just a cold, this is just a flu, that is not true. And I think at this point, most people should be familiar with that, because I had COVID once and I lost my voice, but I had already been fully vaccinated. My 31-year-old brother absolutely refused to get a vaccine, slipped into a coma and died within a week.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That is the reality that we are all facing. And it does not have to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah. I think that what you said about just the failed institutional response, kind of like allowing this room for conspiracy theories to grow, makes so much sense. Because like within like a week or two, like we were seeing segments on Fox News about how, well, we should just sacrifice grandma to the gods of capitalism.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but like the lieutenant governor, I think I forgot, Dan Patrick of Texas, was talking about how like I'm willing to die so my next generations can have a good economy. And like it just immediately, like there was like a week that we were in this mindset of, wow, let's flatten the curve, and then like that, it was just, okay, you're on your own, good luck. And I think that like the failed response from the state really made things so much worse.
And right before that was denial. I mean, you had cable news, especially Fox News, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, pretend it wasn't even a thing, and then and then it just like flipped, and now it is a thing, but well, we got to sacrifice these people. Like it was it was completely wild. And one of the greatest arguments for people who are anti-vax to get vaccinated is, think about who got the vaccine first. Ron DeSantis in Florida specifically gave the vaccine to rich donors of his. Like they got in line for, I think there was like a rich community where they were like the first ones vaccinated, and they were big supporters of his. Like when you have the wealthy and those in power ensuring that their friends get vaccinated first, maybe that's an indication as you should also get the vaccine.
Yeah. I believe it was the city of Philadelphia. I'll never forget this story. I know it was in Pennsylvania. So it was either Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, and I really think it was Philadelphia. It was the city of Philadelphia that gave, I want to say, $1.5 million to some 21-year-old college dropout tech bro who said, hey, girls, run me the vaccine. I'll run distribution through the city. He had scheduled all these partnerships with the Black churches, things of that nature. He was going to come down, vaccinate everybody. Turns out homeboy had no plan at all. They gave him these millions of dollars. Homeboy had absolutely no plan at all, was calling his friends down to the churches in these Black communities. This is a white man, calling his friends, his family down and whatnot, shoving vaccines in his pants to smuggle them out the churches. This shit was on the news and everything. It scared the shit out of me because I was like, what is this? The church is speaking out. The Philadelphia Department of Health is like, hey girl, our bad. Like, and sitting and talking about sending homeboy to jail, but at the same time, it's stuff like that just does not offer any kind of credence to our public health infrastructure in this country. And so I think what scares me the most is that what is going to happen when the next pandemic comes, because it will. Well, it's inevitable. It's an inevitability that this will happen again. And we are just absolutely unprepared, especially with the way in which we have handled COVID has affected every other effort that we have in terms of preventing diseases. Meningitis is way up. People aren't getting HPV vaccines anymore. It's affecting the way in which we communicate about prevention in the profession. That's why so many people are getting burnt out. At this point, I really don't know what we do, especially with the CDC being so inconsistent in their messaging, inconsistent in what they're telling the American people to do. This is a hallowed, trusted institution across the world, and just kind of readily admitting that they don't know what to do at this point. And so we just out here doing the best we can, I think, as a profession, like just trying to combat this from all sides.
It's so dangerous right now because we kind of live in this like post-truth era where like everything can be discounted so quickly, and you don't need people. Like the heavy lifting you have to do on one side to do advocacy for health and good health outcomes is insurmountable compared to someone who can just be like, yeah, but the 5G towers and the magnets and Magneto and all that kind of stuff. And all these pundits, they're making money off death. You got to remember, like Joe Rogan has 11 million people who listen to his podcast.
I guarantee he's been vaccinated multiple times over.
Probably a lot of them like have, right? And of those people that he's telling to not trust it, like some of those are going to not get vaccinated, get sick. Some of those people will be hospitalized, and some of those people will die. And you're making money off the whole thing.
They don't care about people.
I don't know what's going to happen too when Biden decides, hey, girls, that emergency period is over with. That expires at the end of this month. So I'm told, I read in the news, Moderna is just waiting in the wings like the fucking Grinch to start charging, what is it? I think $130 is what it's going to be per vaccine now. Something I've seen that number floating around.
You know what pisses me off so much about that is, again, people going after Pfizer for the wrong reasons or Moderna for the wrong reasons, being like, oh, they're trying to poison us with the vaccine, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, motherfuckers, you can make fun of these companies because they're evil and doing fucked up shit. There's lots of things. There's so many receipts. They took a whole bunch of taxpayer money, and now they're taking more money to buy and produce the vaccine and sell it back to you. They spend more on advertising than they do on R&D. Go after them for real shit. When you go after them for cartoon Mickey Mouse stuff, then people on the sidelines are like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's because the vaccine's evil. And it's going to
be... The issue is that the vaccine is distributed through capitalism as opposed to being just a right. I mean, there was public investment into the research behind the vaccine, right? Yeah, exactly. So that the public funded the research into the vaccine, and then these massive companies benefit off of it. Like that's the criticism there. The criticism isn't the medicine's bad or the vaccine's bad. The criticism is, why are they benefiting when the taxpayers are the ones that funded the research into the medicine?
Yeah, that's the conspiracy. Like, you don't have to concoct these ideas that, oh, well, ivermectin works instead, or the vaccine is poison. Like, the conspiracy is obvious. It's the greed. But yet, like, these motherfuckers who push like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, they're doing victory laps now. Yeah,
he's still doing it. He's still, they're all. He was quoting Marjorie Taylor Greene as the source. He's like, I was right. I've been proven right about all this. Like,
meanwhile, criticizing Big Pharma, who's making the money off that too. Like, it's all so freaking stupid.
It feels so hopeless.
And it does feel hopeless. There's some things that just cannot be penetrated. I really can't tell you how many times I've been told. In the early day, I think I probably stopped trying to. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I don't work for the Department of Health. Okay, and I work for a private company, and I work with a team of epidemiologists and a physician. So I'm mostly tracking, like, when it comes to chronic or infectious diseases, I'm tracking like who this is affecting. I'm tracking the distribution and determinants of these diseases and what's going on. And for that, I'm a bit grateful, because I never forget that this data that I'm touching is real people. But I've also been kind of insulated, because in the early days of the pandemic, we were reaching out to people. Like, we were talking to people. I had talked to people who, like, calling them on the phone. And I remember one woman had told me she had just gotten the ashes of her mother who had died of it, like, I think like 2 hours before I had called her. So that was really intense for me. But I will say, we're at this point now, there are some things I just cannot penetrate. I've been told so many times, oh, well, you know, you listening to the white man's logic, and all that.
Oh, God.
Okay, you know how people sometimes.
I went to get my hair done in Harlem. I went to get my hair done in Harlem during the pandemic, and I thought I was gonna kill myself listening to that conversation. I swear there was a man, and I was like, my chest was in there like dead ass, talking about how it gonna turn you into a robot. And this, I'm looking at him like. And I'm looking him in his eye, just trying to like look for the truth. Like, this nigga believes this. Like, I'm like, I don't. Like, you can't even. What do you say to people talking this shit? Like, you can't even.
It's very hard talking to anti-vax. Like that's what I like. It's because you don't want to scare them away, but you also don't want to sit there and take their bullshit. It's just like, you have to find a happy medium. Like, how do you?
I want to
plant the seeds?
No, I want to scare them away. Get the fuck up my face talking this bullshit.
Well,
please.
it depends. It depends who it is in your life, right? Like, if it's like a family member or something.
No, that's exactly it, David.
Do you have anti-vaxxers in your family? Because I was shocked to find. Listen, Bahamians can be very stubborn people, and if it's good, it's good. But if it's bad, boy, is it bad. And I remember getting on the phone fully prepared to have to go to war with my mommy. I said, oh, this woman could be on some. There could be people in my family talking a bunch of fuck. I went on the phone for war. And my mother's like, nope, everybody, nope, even your cousin Terrence, everybody got vaccinated. And I was like, Americans are lost people. I was like, all of the worst members of my family, all the likely targets, everybody, cross class, cross everybody.
But that is what David said. And what you're saying too, that works together. That is what David just described, and what you just described, of people talking to each other. It has to be of it having to be someone you know. That is the nature of public health. Is all of us being like, hey, girl, this is something good for you. My grandparents, especially my granddaddy, they've been through war and all. He ain't scared. And I remember when the pandemic first started, he said, "What, you gonna be scared all your life?" He wasn't, mind you, his granddaughter is an epidemiologist. He wasn't trying to hear none of that, wasn't trying to wear no mask, none of that. But it came down to where I sat them down and I was like, "Granddaddy, I'm your granddaughter. I am your I do this for a living. I clock into work every day. I look at this, I see this. I would never steer you wrong. Do you think I would tell you something that would harm you in any way? That I would suggest this to you? No." And that got him vaccinated. They got my grandmother vaccinated. She was like, well, Mike, we gotta. If Gabrielle's saying this, then we probably need to check it out. When it comes down to even the most staunch people who refuse to, that's gonna come down to homeboy at the barbershop being like, "Well, I went ahead and got the vaccine. I'm fine. You see me in the flesh," somebody that they trust. Oh, well, my coworker got it and they seem fine. That's what it takes. Oh, my pastor say he got it. And so he told the church it was cool. So we got it. Like it really takes that community effort. That is the nature of public health. And we have failed in that regard for a lot of reasons, depending on what party lines and all that kind of stuff. But that is public health.
It's a policy. It's a policy choice. The government made a policy choice. It's not like these things came out of thin air. The public narrative on the pandemic had everything to do with what we were being fed. Yeah. And there was a point in the beginning when, because they were still afraid about themselves, you know what I mean? When they got terrified for themselves, they got serious. It was lockdown. It was this. It was blah 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 blah. But once they started trying to, feeling like they knew a little bit more, and once they stopped feeling any personal fear, it started to get further out. The more it started being, not everybody is sick and everybody's panicking and everybody's in the hospital, the more it was, it's disproportionately affecting Black people and this is the next thing. You started seeing the change of like, all right, well, fuck it, open up the stuff, let's make money, da da da. Yeah. And that's how it was. And I think that's just the truth. We're being dishonest if we pretend America cares about mass death or people or anything like that. This is one of the richest nations on earth with all kind of homeless people, one of the largest wealth disparities. Like, come on, we have look at it, 2 million people incarcerated. This is not a place that gives a flying fuck about people. That's just reality.